When I stood up from my seat in that packed auditorium and heard my own daughter introduce me as the housekeeper for one more time, something inside me finally snapped. 4 years. 4 years of swallowing that lie, of pretending it didn't cut me to the bone every single time. But as I watched her accept her diploma, beaming with pride while 500 people applauded, I knew this was the moment. This was the day I would finally tell the truth. Before I tell you what my own daughter called me for 4 years, please tap the like button. It helps me steady my voice. If you've ever been ashamed or hidden by someone you raised with love, please subscribe. Your support feels like the respect I never received. And comment your name and where you're watching from. I want to remember the people who stand with me when my own daughter wouldn't. My name is Margaret, and I'm 62 years old. I've been a mother for 38 years, a widow for 7, and apparently I've been a housekeeper for the last 4. The irony is, I actually was a housekeeper once, back when Emma was just a little girl. I cleaned offices at night, scrubbed toilets during the day, did whatever it took to keep food on our table after her father walked out on us when she was only 3 years old. She was too young to remember those days. Thank God. Too young to remember me crying in the shower because I was so exhausted I could barely stand. Too young to remember the nights we ate cereal for dinner because that's all we could afford. I met Robert when Emma was 8. He was a good man, a kind man, the kind of father Emma deserved. He adopted her legally when we married, gave her her last name, loved her like she was his own blood. We built a good life together. Robert worked as an engineer, and finally, I could stop working 3 jobs. I became a stay-at-home mom, volunteered at Emma's school, baked cookies for her class parties, drove her to soccer practice and piano lessons. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. We were happy. Robert died suddenly when Emma was 21, just as she was starting her junior year at State University. A heart attack at 54 years old. The doctor said it was quick, that he didn't suffer, but God knows we did. The life insurance payout was substantial, though, $450,000. Robert had always been careful about things like that, always thinking ahead, making sure we'd be taken care of. Half of it I put into savings and investments. The other half I used to pay off our house and to make sure Emma could finish her education without worrying about money. "Mom," she said to me at the funeral, mascara running down her cheeks, "I don't know if I can go back to school. How can I just go on like nothing happened?" I held her face in my hands and looked her straight in the eye. "You go back because your father would want you to. You finish your degree and you make him proud. That's how you honor him." She went back, and I was so proud of her for that. She transferred to Hamilton University for her senior year, one of those prestigious private schools where the tuition costs more than most people make in a year. She'd gotten a partial scholarship, but it still cost us $42,000 a year, even with the financial aid. I paid it gladly. Every semester, I wrote those checks without hesitation. $84,000 over 2 years, plus her apartment near campus, her car payments, her insurance, her credit cards for emergencies that somehow always totaled $500 to $800 a month. I never complained. That's what mothers do, right? We sacrifice, we give, we love. The first time she introduced me as the housekeeper was during her senior year, about 6 months after she'd transferred to Hamilton. She'd made a new friend, Brittany, whose family owned a chain of luxury hotels. Brittany had come to visit for the weekend, and I'd driven 2 hours to take them out to dinner at a nice restaurant Emma had been wanting to try. I walked into the restaurant, saw them at the table, and headed over with a smile. I was so excited to meet her new friend, to hear about her classes, to just spend time with my daughter. "Oh, this is Margaret," Emma said casually, not even looking at me. "She's my housekeeper." I actually laughed. I thought she was joking. But when I saw her face, I realized she was serious. Brittany barely glanced at me, gave a little nod, and went back to talking about some party she'd been to in the Hamptons. I sat there through that entire dinner feeling like I couldn't breathe. Emma kept calling me Margaret, not Mom, kept talking about her apartment like I wasn't the one paying for it, kept telling stories about growing up that were edited versions where Robert and I were mysteriously absent. According to her stories, she'd practically raised herself. After dinner, in the parking lot, I finally found my voice. "Emma, why did you tell your friend I was your housekeeper?" She rolled her eyes. "Mom, please, you don't understand what it's like at Hamilton. Everyone there is someone. Their parents are CEOs and surgeons and lawyers. Brittany's family is worth like $50 million. What was I supposed to say? That you used to actually be a housekeeper? That Dad was just an engineer?"
Just an engineer. Like Robert's 25 years of hard work meant nothing. Like the life he'd built for us was something to be ashamed of. "Your father was a wonderful man," I said, my voice shaking, "and I'm proud of every job I've ever done to take care of you." "I know, Mom, I know." She softened a little, touched my arm. "Look, it's just easier this way, okay? Just for when you meet my friends. It doesn't mean anything. I love you. You know that." And like a fool, I let it go. I told myself it was just a phase, that she was young and insecure and trying to fit in with kids who had more money than we did. I told myself it would pass. I told myself that as long as she knew who I really was, it didn't matter what she told other people. But it kept happening, over and over and over again. When her friend Christopher came to visit, I was the housekeeper who'd stopped by to drop off some dry cleaning. When her study group came over for finals, I was Margaret, who was helping out around the apartment. When she threw a birthday party for herself that spring, I wasn't invited at all. She texted me and asked if I could maybe stay away for the weekend because she was having friends over and it would just be easier. I stayed away. I sat in my empty house, the house where Robert and I had raised her, and I didn't sleep at all that night. I kept thinking about all the birthday parties I'd thrown for her when she was little, the homemade cakes shaped like castles and unicorns, the scavenger hunts in the backyard, the way she used to hug me and say, "You're the best mommy in the whole world." Where had that little girl gone? But I still hoped. God, I still hoped that once she graduated, once she got out of that world of wealthy kids and their judgment, things would go back to normal. We'd go back to being mother and daughter. She'd introduce me properly. She'd be proud of me again. Her graduation was scheduled for May 15th. The ceremony was being held at the Hamilton University Performing Arts Center, a massive venue that seated 2,000 people. I bought my ticket the day they went on sale, front row of the balcony section, perfect view of the stage. I bought a new dress, navy blue with a white collar. I got my hair done. I even bought a new purse. I wanted to look nice for her special day. The night before graduation, Emma called me. "Hey, Mom, so, about tomorrow." "I'm so excited," I interrupted, smiling into the phone. "I can't believe my baby is graduating college. Dad would be so proud." There was a pause. This one longer. "The thing is, Mom, so I'm actually sitting with some friends during the ceremony. The graduating students sit together on stage, but there's a whole reception thing afterward, and I'm sitting with Brittany and Christopher and some other people. They got a table." "Oh, that's fine, honey. I'll find you after the ceremony. We can take pictures." Another pause. This one longer. "The thing is, Mom, they're all bringing their parents and..." "Look, you know how it's been. It's just easier if you maybe sit somewhere else, and then we can meet up later, just the two of us, for dinner or something." My hand tightened on the phone. "Emma, are you asking me not to sit with you at your own graduation?" No, I'm not asking you not to come. I want you there. I just think it would be better if you didn't make a big deal about being my mom in front of everyone. These people are important connections for me. Christopher's dad already offered me an informational interview at his company. I can't mess this up. I should have said no right then. I should have told her that if she was ashamed of me, then maybe I wouldn't come at all. But I didn't. Instead, I heard myself say, "Okay, Emma, whatever you need." "Thanks, Mom. You're the best." "I love you." She hung up before I could say it back. I didn't sleep that night either. I lay in my bed, Robert's pillow still on his side of the bed even after 7 years, and I stared at the ceiling. I thought about all the sacrifices I'd made, every dollar I'd spent, every time I'd put her needs before my own. And I thought about Robert, how he loved her so much, how he'd worked so hard to give her opportunities. What would he think if he could see what she had become? The morning of graduation, I almost didn't go. I stood in front of my closet, looking at that new navy blue dress, and I thought about just staying home. But I couldn't do it. She was still my daughter. This was still her graduation. I had to be there. The Hamilton University Performing Arts Center was breathtaking, all marble and gold accents, with crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. I found my seat in the balcony section, surrounded by other families who were laughing and taking pictures and hugging their graduates-to-be. I sat alone. The ceremony started at 2 o'clock. The processional music played, and 486 graduates in black caps and gowns filed onto the stage. I spotted Emma immediately. She was in the third row, sitting between Brittany and another girl I didn't recognize. She looked beautiful. She looked so much like Robert in that moment, with her hair pulled back and that serious expression on her face. The president of the university gave a speech, then the valedictorian. Then they started calling names, and one by one, students walked across the stage to receive their diplomas. It took nearly 2 hours to get through everyone. I watched every single graduate applauding politely, waiting for my daughter's name. Emma Louise Hartley. I stood up. I couldn't help it. I stood up and I cheered, even though I was in the balcony and she probably couldn't hear me. I watched her walk across that stage, shake the dean's hand, take her diploma, and smile for the photographer. My baby, my college graduate. After the ceremony ended, there was a reception in the grand hall. I made my way downstairs, navigating through the crowd of families and graduates. I found Emma standing with her group of friends, all of them holding champagne flutes and laughing. "Congratulations, sweetheart," I said, approaching her with open arms. She turned, and I saw something flash across her face. Panic, maybe? Or annoyance. "Oh, Margaret," she said, stepping back just enough that my hug attempt became awkward. "I didn't know you were coming to the reception." Margaret. Not Mom. Margaret. Brittany looked at me with vague recognition. "Oh, you're Emma's housekeeper, right? That's so sweet that you came to support her." I felt my face get hot. Around us, people were talking and laughing, but I suddenly felt like I was in a spotlight. Emma's other friends were looking at me with that same polite but dismissive expression, the way you might look at service staff who'd shown up somewhere they didn't quite belong. "Actually," I started to say, but Emma cut me off. "Margaret helped out a lot while I was in school," Emma said quickly, her voice bright and false. "She's been wonderful." Christopher raised his glass. "That's awesome, man. It's so hard to find good help these days. My mom's been through like 5 housekeepers in the past year." They all laughed. Emma laughed with them. And something inside me broke. Not cracked, not bent, broke. Completely and irreparably. I looked at my daughter, at this young woman I'd raised and loved and sacrificed everything for. And I realized that she wasn't going to change. This wasn't the phase. This wasn't insecurity. This was who she'd decided to be. Someone who was ashamed of where she came from. Someone who would rather lie to her friends than acknowledge her mother. The crowd in the reception hall was massive, easily 500 people, maybe more. Graduates and their families, professors, staff, everyone packed into this grand space with its high ceilings and expensive decor. There was a microphone set up near the front, where parents and students had been taking turns giving toasts and congratulations. I started walking toward it. "Mom?" Emma's voice behind me, uncertain now. "Mom, where are you going?" I didn't answer. I just kept walking, my heels clicking on the marble floor. People moved out of my way. I reached the microphone, and a young man who had been about to speak looked at me in confusion. "Excuse me," I said to him. "I just need a moment." He stepped aside. I tapped the microphone. The feedback screech made everyone in the hall stop talking and turn to look at me. "Hello," I said, my voice echoing through the space. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might pass out, but I kept going. Deep breath. "My name is Margaret Hartley. I'm 62 years old, and I'm not a housekeeper." I saw Emma in the crowd, frozen, her face white as a sheet. Well, I was a housekeeper 25 years ago when my daughter Emma was little and her biological father had abandoned us. I cleaned offices at night. I scrubbed toilets during the day. I worked 3 jobs to keep a roof over our heads and food on the table. But I'm not a housekeeper now. I'm a mother. I'm Emma Louise Hartley's mother. The hall was dead silent. 500 people, not a single sound. Emma graduated today with a degree in business administration from this prestigious university. I'm so proud of her. I'm proud because I paid for every single semester. $84,000 in tuition over 2 years. I paid for her apartment, her car, her insurance, her credit card bills. After my husband, Robert, Emma's adoptive father, died 7 years ago, I used his life insurance money to make sure she could have opportunities we never had. My voice was shaking now, but I wasn't going to stop. For 4 years, my daughter has introduced me to her friends as Margaret, the housekeeper. She's been ashamed of me, ashamed of where she came from, ashamed that her stepfather was just an engineer and her mother used to clean toilets for a living. She's told people that I help out around her apartment. She's asked me not to call me honey in front of her friends. She's uninvited me from her birthday party because it would be easier if I wasn't there. I found Emma in the crowd. She was crying, her hands over her mouth, Brittany and Christopher staring at her in shock.
"I loved my daughter more than anything in this world," I said. "I sacrificed everything for her. I worked myself to the bone to give her a better life than I had. And I taught her, or at least I tried to teach her, that there's no shame in honest work. That the measure of a person isn't how much money they have or what their job title is. It's about integrity. It's about kindness. It's about treating people with dignity and respect." My hands were gripping the microphone stand so hard my knuckles were white. But clearly I failed. Because the woman I raised, the woman who just graduated today, thinks that her mother is something to be hidden, something to be ashamed of. She thinks that being someone means pretending she came from nothing. She thinks that her wealthy friends are more important than the woman who gave up everything to raise her. Someone in the crowd started clapping. Then another person. Then another. Within seconds, dozens of people were applauding. Some were crying. I saw other parents nodding, some of them holding their own children close. "I'm done," I said into the microphone.
I'm done being erased. I'm done being lied about. I'm done sacrificing for someone who doesn't appreciate it. Emma, you graduated today. Congratulations. You got your degree, but you didn't get it alone. You got it because I loved you enough to give you everything I had. And I hope someday you'll understand what you've lost. I put the microphone down and walked toward the exit. The crowd parted for me. People were trying to talk to me, touch my arm, say something, but I couldn't hear them. All I could hear was the sound of my own heartbeat and Emma's voice behind me calling, "Mom, Mom, wait, please." I didn't wait. I walked out of that building, got into my car, and drove home. She called me 17 times that night. I didn't answer. She left voicemails, each one more desperate than the last. "Mom, please pick up." "Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "Mom, please, we need to talk." "Mom, I love you. Please answer." I listened to each voicemail once, then deleted them. She showed up at my house the next morning. I heard her knocking, ringing the doorbell, calling through the mail slot. "Mom, please. I know you're in there. Please open the door." I sat on my couch and didn't move. After an hour, she left. The calls and texts continued for 3 days. Her messages got longer, more frantic. She told me she'd ended things with Brittany and Christopher, that she realized they weren't real friends. She told me she was ashamed of herself. She told me she loved me. She told me she needed me. On the 4th day, I finally answered. "Hi, Emma," I said, my voice flat. "Emma," she was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I was so stupid. Please, can we talk? Please?" "What do you want to talk about?" I asked coldly. "I want to apologize. I want to make this right. Please, Mom, please give me a chance." I was quiet for a long moment. Part of me wanted to forgive her immediately, to pull her into my arms and tell her it was okay, that we'd move past this. That's what mothers do, right? We forgive. But another part of me, the part that had been hurt and dismissed and erased for 4 years, wasn't ready to forgive. "Emma, do you understand what you did to me? Do you understand what it felt like to have my own child deny me, to be treated like I was nothing more than hired help?" "I know, Mom, I know. I was awful. I was so worried about fitting in and impressing people who didn't matter. And I forgot about the person who mattered most. I forgot about you." "It wasn't just about fitting in. You were ashamed of me, ashamed of where you came from, ashamed of your father's memory." "No," she protested. "No, I wasn't ashamed of Dad." "You said he was just an engineer, like his life's work meant nothing." She was quiet. "Your father loved you more than anything," I continued, my voice breaking now. "He worked so hard to give you opportunities. He died believing you'd become someone kind and compassionate, someone who would make him proud. And instead, you became someone who values money and status more than family." "I know," she said, whispering. Her voice was barely audible. "I know, Mom, and I hate myself for it. I spent the past 4 days just thinking about everything you've ever done for me, every sacrifice you made, and I threw it all back in your face." "Yes," I said simply, "you did." "How do I fix this?" she asked. "Please, Mom, tell me how to fix this." I closed my eyes. "I don't know if you can, Emma. I don't know if sorry is enough." "What do you want me to do? Please, Mom, please. You're my mom. You're all I have." "I want you to understand that actions have consequences. I want you to understand that the people who love you aren't disposable. I want you to become the person your father thought you were." "I will," she said. "I promise I will. Just please, don't give up on me." I didn't answer. After a moment, she spoke again.
"Can I come over, please? I want to talk to you in person. I want to look you in the eye and apologize." "Not yet," I said.
I need time, Emma. I need time to figure out if I can trust you again. How much time? I don't know. As much as I need. She was crying again. Okay, Mom. Whatever you need. I love you. I hung up without saying it back. The next few weeks were hard. I spent a lot of time alone, thinking about everything that had happened. I thought about the little girl who used to climb into my lap and say, "Mommy, I love you to the moon and back." I thought about the teenager who'd been my best friend, who told me everything, who trusted me with her secrets. And I thought about the young woman she'd become, the one who'd chosen status over love. I also thought about myself, about the choices I'd made, about whether I'd enabled her behavior by not standing up for myself sooner, about whether I'd sacrificed so much that she'd never learn the value of things. My neighbor, Carol, came over one afternoon with a casserole and a bottle of wine. She'd heard about what happened at the graduation through the local grapevine. News travels fast in small towns. "I'm proud of you," she said, pouring us each a glass. "What you did took courage." "I humiliated my daughter in front of 500 people," I said. "What kind of mother does that?" "The kind who's been pushed too far," Carol replied. "The kind who finally realized her worth. Margaret, I've watched you raise that girl. I've watched you sacrifice and give and bend over backward for her. And I've watched her take it all for granted. What you did wasn't about humiliation. It was about truth." "She's so angry with me," I whispered. "She's angry with herself," Carol corrected. "And she should be. She treated you terribly. But you know what? Now she knows there are consequences. Now she knows that you won't just accept being disrespected." I sipped my wine. "I miss her. I miss my daughter." "She's still there," Carol said gently. "She's just buried under a layer of bullshit that she needs to work through. Give her time. Give yourself time." I did. I gave us both time. Emma continued to call and text, but less frantically now. Her messages became more thoughtful, more introspective. She told me about a therapist she'd started seeing, someone to help her work through why she'd been so desperate to impress people who didn't care about her. She told me she'd gotten a job at a marketing firm, that she was living in a small apartment she could afford on her own, without my help. She sent me pictures of it, a modest one-bedroom that was probably the size of her closet at Hamilton University. I'm learning what it means to actually work for something. I'm learning what you must have felt like when I was little. I'm so sorry I didn't understand before. 6 weeks after graduation, she showed up at my house again. This time, I opened the door. She looked different. Thinner, like she'd lost weight from stress. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, no expensive highlights or salon styling. She was wearing jeans and a plain t-shirt, not the designer clothes she used to favor. And her eyes looked older somehow, like she'd grown up in the past 6 weeks. "Hi, Mom," she said quietly, nervously. "Hi, Emma. Can I come in?" I stepped aside and let her in. We sat in the living room, the same room where Robert used to read her bedtime stories, where we'd had birthday parties and Christmas mornings and 1,000 ordinary evenings as a family. "I've been thinking a lot," she started, her hands clasped in her lap. "About everything. About what I did to you, about why I did it. And I need you to know that I understand now. I understand that what I did was unforgivable." "Then why are you here?" I asked, coldly, not cruelly, But I needed to know, because even if it's unforgivable, I'm still going to ask you to forgive me, because you're my mother, and I love you, and I need you to know that I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be the person you raised me to be, the person Dad believed I was. Tears were streaming down her face now. She continued, I got my first paycheck last week. It was $1,847 after taxes. And you know what I thought? I thought about how many paychecks like that it would have taken you to pay for just one semester of my tuition. And I felt sick. I felt so sick, Mom, thinking about how I threw that back in your face, how I acted like you were an embarrassment. She pulled an envelope out of her purse and held it out to me. What's this? I asked. It's a check for $2,000. It's everything I've managed to save from my first month of work, plus some money I had left over. I want to pay you back. I want to pay back every penny you spent on my education.
I looked at the envelope but didn't take it. Emma, that would take you years. I know, she said. Good. I should understand exactly how long it takes to earn that kind of money. I should feel every bit of the sacrifice you made. I finally took the envelope, but I didn't open it. This isn't about money, I said. It was never about money. I know, she said again. It's about respect. It's about appreciation. It's about not taking the people who love you for granted. And Mom, I took you for granted in the worst possible way. I erased you. I denied you. I treated you like you were less than human. Why? I asked, the question I'd been holding on to for weeks finally escaping. Why did you do it, Emma? What did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong, she said immediately. This wasn't about you. This was about me and my own insecurity. When I got to Hamilton and met all these kids who came from money, who'd never had to work for anything in their lives, I felt so inferior, like I didn't belong there. And instead of being proud of where I came from, instead of being proud that I'd worked hard to get there, I tried to pretend I was someone I wasn't. I tried to erase my own history. And in doing that, I erased you. She was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. And for the first time in 6 weeks, I felt my anger start to soften. I went to Dad's grave, she said, wiping her eyes. Last week, I told him what I did. I told him I was sorry. And I swear to God, Mom, I could feel his disappointment. I could feel it like a physical weight. I stood up and sat next to her on the couch. I didn't hug her yet, but I put my hand on her knee. She covered it with her own hand. Your father loved you so much, I said, my voice thick with emotion. And he was so proud of you. Not because of where you went to school or what degree you got. He was proud of your kindness, your compassion, the way you used to stick up for kids who were being bullied, the way you volunteered at the animal shelter. That's the Emma he knew. That's the Emma I need you to find again. I'm trying, she said. I promise I'm trying. I quit social media. I cut off contact with most of the people from Hamilton. I'm starting over, trying to figure out who I am without all the pretense and the lies. And I'm seeing a therapist because I need to understand why I was so desperate for approval from people who didn't even like me. We sat there for a long time, not saying anything, just sitting together, her hand in mine. I can't promise I'll forgive you immediately, I finally said. What you did hurt me more than anything else in my life, And that includes your father's death. Because at least when Robert died, I knew he loved me. But when you denied me, I questioned everything. I questioned whether I'd been a good mother, whether I'd failed you somehow. You didn't fail me, Emma said fiercely. I failed you. I failed Dad. I failed myself. But I'm going to fix it. I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to become someone you can be proud of again. I was always proud of you, I whispered. That's what made it hurt so much. She turned to me then, and I saw the little girl I'd raised. Not the pretentious college student, not the status-obsessed young woman, just my Emma, my baby, the child I'd loved since the moment she was born. Can I hug you? She asked. I nodded, and she wrapped her arms around me and held on like she was drowning. We both cried, months and years of pain and disappointment and love all pouring out at once. I love you, Mom, she sobbed into my shoulder. I love you so much, and I'm so, so sorry. I love you too, I finally said back. I never stopped loving you. Even when I was angry, even when I was hurt, I never stopped. We stayed that way for a long time. Recovery wasn't immediate. Trust isn't rebuilt in a single conversation or a heartfelt apology. Over the following months, Emma proved her commitment to change through her actions. She came over every Sunday for dinner, and we slowly rebuilt our relationship. She asked me questions about my life, about Robert, about our history, questions she had never bothered to ask before. She wanted to know about my childhood, my parents, what it was like working 3 jobs to support her. Tell me about the worst day, she said one Sunday afternoon as we washed dishes together. The worst day? When you were little, when I was working all those jobs, tell me about the worst day. I dried a plate slowly, thinking back.
Emma had stopped washing dishes and was just staring at me, tears in her eyes. I went to the dollar store and spent $8.73 on streamers and paper plates and a little packet of balloons, I continued. It was money I needed for groceries, but I couldn't stand to see you disappointed. I blew up every single balloon myself. Must have been 20 of them. I made a cake from a box mix, and I invited every kid in your daycare class, and somehow 5 of them actually came. You were so happy. You thought it was the best party ever. And afterward, we ate ramen for dinner every night that week because I spent the grocery money on your party. Mom, Emma whispered, her voice breaking. I never regretted it, I said firmly. Not once, because you were happy. That's all I ever wanted, for you to be happy. She hugged me then, right there in the kitchen, soap suds still on her hands. I took it all for granted, she said. All of it. Every sacrifice, every struggle, every time you went without so I could have something. I'm so sorry, Mom. I know you are, I said, holding her close, and I'm starting to forgive you. Starting to? She asked, pulling back to look at me. Forgiveness is a process, I said gently, but we're getting there. The real turning point came about 4 months after graduation. Emma called me on a Tuesday evening, her voice excited. Mom, can you come to my apartment this weekend? There's something I want to show you. When I arrived on Saturday, I found her apartment transformed. She'd hung photos on the walls, photos of us, me and her as a baby, Robert holding her at her high school graduation, the 3 of us at Christmas, family photos that she'd clearly dug out of storage, printed, framed, and displayed prominently. I wanted you to be here, she said, gesturing to the photos. I wanted everyone who comes into my home to know who my family is, who my mother is. I'm done hiding you.
I'm done being ashamed of the most important people in my life. I walked slowly around the apartment, looking at each photo. In one, I was wearing my housekeeper uniform from when Emma was little, holding her on my hip. She couldn't have been more than 2 years old. I'd forgotten that photo existed. I found that one in a box in your garage, Emma said, standing next to me. I'd never seen it before. You look so young and so tired. I was both, I said with a small laugh. I'm framing it and putting it right here above my couch, she said. So every single person who comes over sees it. And if anyone asks, I'm going to tell them the truth. That my mom worked her ass off to give me opportunities she never had. That she sacrificed everything for me. And that I'm the luckiest person in the world to have her. I started crying. Happy tears this time. Also, Emma continued, pulling out her phone, I need to show you something else. She pulled up her Instagram account. I'd never followed her social media, never even looked at it. On her profile, she'd posted a photo from her graduation day, one I'd never seen before. It must have been taken just before the ceremony. But the caption stopped me cold. This photo was taken on the day I graduated from Hamilton University. An hour after this, my mother stood up in front of 500 people and told everyone that I'd been lying about who she was, that I'd been introducing her as my housekeeper instead of acknowledging her as my mother. She was right to do it. I'd spent 4 years being ashamed of the woman who sacrificed everything for me, and she finally said enough. I'm sharing this now because I want everyone to know the truth. My name is Emma Hartley. My mother, Margaret, worked 3 jobs to support me when I was little. My stepfather, Robert, was an engineer who loved me like I was his own blood. They gave me everything. And I threw it in their faces because I was insecure and desperate to impress people who didn't matter. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm spending the rest of my life trying to be worthy of you. #truth, #accountability, #best mom in the world. You posted this? I asked, looking up at her. 3 days ago, she said. It has 2,847 likes and 634 comments. Most of them are from people telling me I'm a terrible daughter, which I deserve. But some of them are from people sharing their own stories about being ashamed of their parents or their backgrounds. And a lot of them are from people saying they wish they had your courage to stand up for themselves. Emma, I know it doesn't fix anything, she said quickly. It's just social media and it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But I needed people to know the truth. I needed to publicly acknowledge what I did and own up to it. I pulled her into a hug. I'm proud of you, I said. Your father would be so proud of you. She held me tight. I'm trying to make him proud. I'm trying to make you proud. You are, I said. You're getting there. Over the next several months, our relationship continued to heal. Emma started bringing me to work events, introducing me as my mom with genuine pride in her voice. She'd tell coworkers stories about Robert, keeping his memory alive. She started volunteering at a women's shelter, helping single mothers who were struggling the way I once had. I want to give back, she told me. I want to help people the way you helped me, the way you would have helped anyone who needed it. She also made good on her promise to pay me back. Every month, like clockwork, she'd give me a check. Sometimes it was $500, sometimes $200, whatever she could afford after her bills were paid. I started putting it into a savings account without telling her, planning to give it back to her someday when she needed it. Maybe for a down payment on a house, maybe for her own children's education, but I let her pay it because I understood that she needed to. She needed to feel the weight of what I'd given her.
A year after graduation, Emma organized a small memorial service at Robert's grave, just the two of us. She'd brought flowers and a letter she'd written to him. "Dear Dad," she read aloud, her voice shaking, "I'm sorry it took me so long to come back here. I'm sorry I let you down. I know you're probably disappointed in the person I became after you died, but I want you to know I'm working on being better. I'm working on being the daughter you believed I could be, the daughter Mom raised me to be." She paused, crying. I put my arm around her. "I miss you every day," she continued. "I miss your laugh and your terrible dad jokes and the way you used to make pancakes on Sunday mornings. I miss knowing that you were proud of me. But I'm going to earn that pride back. I promise. I'm going to make you proud again, and I'm going to take care of Mom the way you would have wanted me to, the way she deserves." She folded the letter and placed it on his grave, along with the flowers. We stood there for a long time, just the two of us and Robert's memory. "He forgives you," I finally said. "I know he does, and I forgive you too." Emma turned to look at me, tears streaming down her face. "Really? Really?" I said. "You've worked hard to change. You've shown me through your actions that you're committed to being better, and that's all I ever wanted. Not perfection, just effort and genuine remorse and growth." She threw her arms around me and sobbed into my shoulder. "Thank you," she kept saying. "Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're my daughter," I said, holding her close. "I will always love you, even when you hurt me, even when you disappoint me. I will always love you." We left the cemetery that day feeling lighter than we had in years. The relationship wasn't perfect. We still had moments of tension, times when old wounds would resurface, but we were committed to each other. We were committed to rebuilding what had been broken. Emma continued to grow and change. She got promoted at work, not because of connections or networking with wealthy people, but because she worked hard and proved herself. She started dating a man named David, a teacher who made her laugh and treated her with respect. When she introduced us, she said, "David, this is my mom, Margaret. She's the strongest woman I know." On the 2-year anniversary of her graduation, Emma showed up at my house with a gift, a framed copy of a newspaper article from the local paper. Someone at the graduation had recorded my speech and sent it to the newspaper, and they'd written an article about it titled, "Mother's Graduation Speech Goes Viral, Sparks Conversation About Family Values." "I wanted you to have this," she said softly, "as a reminder that you were brave, that you stood up for yourself when it mattered most, and that you changed my life by doing it." I looked at the article, at the quotes from people who'd been moved by what I'd said, and I felt a sense of peace. "You changed your own life," I told her. "I just gave you the wake-up call. You did the work." "We did the work," she corrected, "together." And that's the truth. We did do the work together. It wasn't easy, it wasn't quick, but it was worth it. Now, 3 years after that graduation ceremony, Emma and I are closer than we've ever been. She calls me every day, visits every week. She includes me in every aspect of her life. When she got engaged to David last month, she asked me to help plan the wedding. Not because she needed a wedding planner, but because she wanted me by her side. She said, "I want you standing next to me when I get married. I want everyone there to know that I wouldn't be the woman I am without you, that everything good about me comes from you and Dad." I cried, of course, happy tears.
Looking back, I don't regret standing up at that graduation ceremony. Was it dramatic? Yes. Was it unconventional? Absolutely. Did I humiliate my daughter in front of hundreds of people? Probably. But sometimes love means setting boundaries. Sometimes love means refusing to accept disrespect, even from the people we love most. Sometimes love means being willing to break something so we can be rebuilt stronger. My daughter had lost her way. She'd become someone I didn't recognize, someone who valued the wrong things and hurt the people who loved her. And by standing up and telling the truth, I forced her to look at herself and what she'd become. I forced her to choose, really choose, what kind of person she wanted to be. She chose to be better. She chose to change. She chose love and family and integrity over status and pretension. And that choice saved our relationship. It saved her in a way. I think about Robert sometimes, about what he would say if he'd been there that day. I think he would have been proud of me for finally standing up for myself. And I think he'd be incredibly proud of Emma, of the woman she's become. Not because of her degree or her career or any external measure of success, but because she learned humility. She learned accountability. She learned that real strength comes from admitting when you're wrong and working to make it right. There are still hard days. There are still moments when I remember the pain of being denied by my own child, and it hurts all over again. But those moments are becoming less frequent. They're being replaced by new memories, good memories. Emma laughing at the dinner table, Emma asking for my advice, Emma introducing me to her friends with genuine pride, Emma being the daughter I always knew she could be. If there's a lesson in all of this, it's that people can change. Not everyone does, and not everyone will, but some people, when confronted with the truth about themselves, when forced to face the consequences of their actions, will choose to be better. Emma chose to be better, and I chose to give her the chance to prove it. That doesn't mean I'm a doormat. That doesn't mean I let people walk all over me anymore. I learned my worth that day at the graduation ceremony. I learned that I deserve respect and dignity from everyone in my life, including my own children. And I'll never forget that lesson again. But I also learned that forgiveness is possible, that relationships can be repaired, that love, real love, can survive even the deepest wounds if both people are willing to do the work. Emma did the work. I did the work. And now, 3 years later, we're not just mother and daughter. We're friends. We're partners. We're each other's biggest supporters. That's worth more to me than anything else in this world. My name is Margaret Hartley, and I'm 62 years old. I'm a mother. I'm a widow. I'm a former housekeeper who cleaned toilets to support her child. I'm a woman who stood up in front of 500 people and demanded respect. And I'm a woman who learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is tell the truth, even when it's painful, even when it's hard, even when it might destroy the thing you love most. Because the truth has power. The truth can break you, but it can also set you free. If you liked my story, please leave a comment below. Have you ever had to stand up to someone you love? Have you ever felt invisible or taken for granted by your family? I'd love to hear your stories. And remember, you are worthy of respect. You are worthy of love. Never let anyone, not even your own children, make you feel like you're less than you are. Stand up, speak your truth, and demand the dignity you deserve.